Hi, and welcome to Gateway Unlocked, Mastercard Payment Gateway's podcast, where we connect with teammates from across the globe and organization on payment trends, innovation, and ideas that are shaping our business. I am Anne Herrera, and today I am joined by Martijn Van Os, Senior Vice President of Product Management for Mastercard Payment Gateway Services, and Mike Camerling, CEO of AEVI, providing an open and global platform to simplify the face-to-face payments world.
Very good. Pleasure to be here.
So let's jump in on the reason that we're here to talk today. In late March, Mastercard and AEVI announced an expanded partnership. Martijn, we'll start with you. From your perspective, why is this partnership with AEVI important for Mastercard?
There's a couple of elements on why we've partnered with AEVI and why we've been looking at that partnership for a while. And I think the best way to reflect is by taking a step back and looking at what the trends are that we've seen in the market. Most of those have been there for a while, but COVID has also been accelerating some of these trends. One of them is consumers expecting a consistent experience with merchants across different channels that they interact with the merchant with, and a consistent experience also spans into payments. And we see through research that merchants get rewarded by that consistent experience through larger basket sizes and returning customers as well. A second one is how technology has evolved. So technology at the point of interaction, at the point of sale, has moved in different ways. Whether it's app marketplaces, smart POS, being able to give merchants more value-added services on the device at the point of interaction. Whether it's cloud-based POS systems, tap on phone, Internet of Things, those kind of developments. We're all there, but at the same time, we're all also significantly accelerated with what we've seen with COVID over the last year. And while these trends bring a lot of opportunities to players in this ecosystem, they of course also bring challenges, because different players have different technology stacks. There's legacy terminals, there's modern terminals. So there's different things coming together where it can be a challenge to sometimes react to these opportunities for players in the ecosystem. And that's where the combination of what we bring from an MPGS perspective, from our historic e-com pedigree and the strengths we have there, with what AEVI brings, and what AEVI brings from a point of sale perspective, from a flexibility in device perspective and smart POS perspective, the combination of those will really help our customers, both our customers, be able to react to these trends and be able to actually turn these trends into the business opportunities that we see them be.
No, that's great. And I definitely I love that you talked about trends. I definitely want to circle back on that. But Mike, I want to pick on you for a little bit. So I was reading the press release, and honestly, this offering can revolutionize omnichannel payments for our banking partners, offer them flexibility. It's great for merchants. It's a win-win for consumers. And at the heart of it is a lot of AEVI and your smart enablement. Can you tell us more about AEVI? I know it's about 6 years old. You've been at the helm yourself for about 3 of those years. You guys have had some really great, stellar growth. Tell us more about your product and the company.
Yeah, thank you. So, AEVI is all about simplifying the face-to-face payments world. And when I say simplifying the face-to-face payments world, that is more for our customers. Of course, you can't simplify what has been built over 30, 40 years, but we hide that complexity in a single platform, providing all sorts of integration and orchestration for actually what Martijn just said, an ever increasing ecosystem in terms of complexity and functionality that both consumer, merchants, and payments providers have to deal with. So we started several years ago where we saw this trend already coming in, where consumers start to be more demanding. They already started to ask questions: why can't I use certain e-com services in the store as well? Why do I have to deal with different devices? And those questions are passed from the merchants on to the payment providers, who come back and had a need for devices, solutions, and more value add in the store to A, keep their merchants happy, and B, run different business models as that. So AEVI developed the platform exactly for that. We have a face-to-face payments gateway. Of course, you need to do the basics, the standard payments. And on top of that, we deal with smart POS. And smart POS actually means devices that can consume apps, and therefore we can create value-added propositions to help merchants with better checkout propositions, better processes, or running their business in a more holistic way.
That sounds like a very smart system. So reading up on the company, it seems that a lot of the massive growth and the amazing growth was also around partnerships. So how is this partnership with Mastercard different than some of your existing partnerships? Why is this partnership important to AEVI?
I think this partnership gives us a few unique things that would be difficult for us to find somewhere else. If you look back on what AEVI is trying to achieve, is a global standards-based platform that really makes life in face-to-face payments simpler. And standards-based is, of course, something that Mastercard knows a lot about. And with Mastercard's reach globally, we can actually start to push for that and reach a wider audience. I won't go into details of the technical standards at this point in time, but some of which you might have heard of are the ISO 20022 or NEXO, that makes life for merchants a lot easier to get rid of all those complex integrations Martijn referred to. But that can only happen when you have a strong partnership and a strong reach across the globe to get more and more partners involved there. So that's a very unique point for us as AEVI, of course. Second is the global reach. We are very busy in Europe. We're busy in the US as well, starting to look at LATAM, APAC, and MEA. And there's no better way to do that with a strong partner like Mastercard.
So I'm hearing some amazing words from you guys: simplify and choice and global reach. Martijn, talk to us. How is this partnership unique and different from other offerings in the market?
It's I think there's a couple of dimensions that come together with with what Mike's just walked through on AEVI's proposition, and also very much what is unique about AEVI's proposition, and be able to be that face-to-face gateway, but also thereby being device agnostic and the tools that gives towards AEVI's partners, and thereby now through this partnership our partners as well in serving that segment. Interestingly, it's actually very consistent to what our MPGS pedigree is in the e-commerce space. Being able to actually take that complexity away from our merchants, being able to offer them all the different payment methods and local payment methods, as well as the major schemes, the different value-added services on top of that in a way that actually takes away the complexity from the merchant and provides it in a simple and transparent way for consumers. So those two, we're actually quite joined up in that sense of our strengths being very, very similar, but being in different parts of the ecosystem. And I think that is quite a unique proposition that we can subsequently bring, because as that comes together, at a very simplistic level, providing that in a joint partnership, actually just being able to provide both through one engagement is in itself a value, is in itself already going to be something that customers can use and partners can use very well. But actually there's a lot to build on here. There's a lot to build on as we build a joint proposition, as we actually go into that blended environment where we join up our experiences in both these ecosystems to address the new developments, to address some of the trends that we've touched on in this podcast on how do we address the developments like tap on phone? How do we address developments like click and collect, blurring of that point of interaction, no longer just being a physical point of interaction or just being a digital point of interaction? That coming together from both our organizations is we're going to be able to, in a unique position, to help our customers not just think about that, but actually deliver solutions in that space.
I love it. Mike, do you have anything to build on that?
No, I agree. It is becoming a world where everybody wants to do everything on their device of choice, whether I'm a merchant and I want to look at my total transactions, what I did in store and online with a tap on a button or opening an app, to a consumer that expects. And I know this is getting an old story, but we still haven't cracked it together. Starting a transaction in one channel, picking it up in another channel, and making a return in a store I've never been before. And that complexity we now need to address and can address in this partnership, which is very exciting.
Absolutely. Like you gentlemen said, it's ever changing. The latest Become Index from Mastercard and Harvard just came out. And one of the key phrases that I thought was very powerful was that more has changed in the past year than in the 5 preceding years. And that's definitely evident, especially in the space that, both of your product offerings are in. So looking into the future, what most excites you about the partnership and address those changes?
I'm well, it's actually it. On the one hand, it's an easy question. On the other hand, it's actually quite a hard question to pick one thing. In the things we've covered already, there's quite a few things to be excited about. There genuinely is a uniqueness to each of our propositions, and thereby having that come together. Taking a step back and saying what excites me most about the partnership, I'd actually take that towards the team level and the people level that we can bring here as well. We've, culturally, the customer focus, the types of customers that we are used to serving, good at serving, that our teams are passionate to serve, are actually very, very similar. But we're coming at them from a different experience and a different proposition. Yeah, us being able to team towards our customers, towards our different partners in the ecosystem, jointly between AEVI and Mastercard's gateway. I think that's actually what excites me most, and it's not trying to avoid giving a hard answer there, Alan, in the sense of we can absolutely think of some concrete examples as well of what that will bring in a proposition. But I think that's actually what is the exciting part for me, for our teams. There's very little we can't achieve in this evolving ecosystem when we bring both the knowledge the teams have as well as the technology platforms we both have together, and that potential is really the most exciting part for me.
I love it. I love it. We're better together. I like it. What about you, Mike?
No, I agree. I think future-wise, what excites me is that it's really happening now, right? And what I mean by that, we've all been saying to each other, oh well, cash will decline, and card transaction and online will come up. Well, we've seen over the last year and a half that, for very bad reasons, but that is happening. Yeah, we've seen that pubs, restaurants who never were really aware of online all of a sudden want to tie it into their business because they have to, and in all sorts of different ways. Simple things where card versus tap, lots more people are now using their phone to pay just because they don't like to touch somebody else's screen or anything like that. I think this year and a half has been an enormous acceleration of what for the last 5 years we've been trying to achieve, and what now will accelerate the next 5.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, it's a very good point, Mike. I think it's showing how real some of the trends we've been talking about for a long time, some individual flows we've seen how real they've become. And I think indeed we've both seen that, both with the challenges it provides sometimes in some of our more traditional flows, but thereby also the opportunities we've been able to give our customers to address those challenges by, in our case, in the short run, getting online quickly. How do we get a merchant online in record speed to be able to continue commerce, to continue into the new environment? But subsequently, that's now moving into, especially as we're slowly opening back up in different parts of the world, slowly returning to normal, that's putting the face-to-face commerce back in the picture. But it's putting it in the picture, indeed, in a very touchless way. It's putting it in a picture, not going back to where we were, but going back to how can we keep this in a touchless fashion, and indeed in a very consistent fashion, because we've had merchants that haven't been online previously who are now online and have become not omnichannel because it's a trendy word, or omnichannel because they've consciously chosen to do so. They've now become an omnichannel customer purely because of how the evolution has gone over the last 18 months. Exactly. So it's become very, very real, which thankfully we've already been able to see, and both our organizations have been able to help customers through this already. But there's very concrete opportunities that brings our customers, which we can help with.
So let's talk a little bit about the customer experience. Mike and Martijn both, I think you guys said you go into one store to return something and you're using a different device, and you are trying to pay for something with mobile versus something else, and that it's not cohesive. So how will this partnership, where AEVI brings one thing to the table and Mastercard Payment Gateway Services brings another, how will this work to really combat that? Can you give us an example?
The first word that comes to mind for me is data, right? With data and information, you have visibility, and tying that together, which I say very quickly and is by no means a very quick thing. That's why this partnership is such a good thing to go forward. It's all about data in the end, where from the card present gateway and the card not present gateway or e-com gateway, we need to find a way how we can bind the transactions, show that in one simple, the emphasis on simple dashboard to any SME or SMB, so the flower shop that can see, okay, this is the state of my business. Now I have a nice holistic view, and I can start planning, I can run my business based on this. So for me, the base of that is data, and how you get that data is, of course, our platforms being smart enough to route that in a smart way and be able to use it in all those scenarios we just talked about. The data needs to be there if I want to return a product to a certain store that I bought online.
Yeah, makes sense. Martijn?
I agree, Martin. And I think thinking of specific examples within that, there's data from all elements. There's data indeed in reporting, in customer reporting, in all the subsequent flows that need to happen around payments. And there's also steps around, for example, tokenization. You're seeing rapid developments in which have had a longer history in the e-commerce channels around tokenized transactions, now moving into network tokenized transactions with the different benefits that network tokens bring, which we've in the e-commerce world have been in a very important driver also to move into to increasing acceptance rates, which is critical in that part of the ecosystem, but actually now is indeed getting into the space of they also work for card present environments. Even though they haven't been pushed there previously in card present environments, being able to move into that space, jointly leveraging what we have, our ability to drive that together with AEVI's platform, can actually make that a complete cross-channel token. As a good example on, from a consumer is completely hidden, even from a merchant for a large perspective is completely hidden. However, will bring benefits in both those channels. Will bring benefits in how the flows go, will bring benefit in how they can reconsolidate transactions and create their own customer views as a merchant. So I think there's some real tangible ones in the front end. Smart POS will give different opportunities, but I think I'm sure we'll touch on that in some questions as well as a channel into the shopping environment. But there's also to use one of the things Mike said previously on, it is a complex world. It's an increasingly complex world, but we're taking that complexity away from our customers to be able to actually leverage this ecosystem. We're actually doing that jointly now. So some of this complexity will be there. Some of the complexity will be in how we work together, but we're resolving that. We're resolving that for our customers, and making sure it's not just one face off towards the customer. It's indeed one data proposition. It's one joint value proposition that they can take.
That sounds very exciting. And you mentioned a couple of things that I definitely wanted to talk about. Definitely the smart pause, but also acceptance. So for a partnership, and I know you guys had a previous partnership, but for an expanded partnership that is still very young, I feel like you guys already have some really clear goals that you want to accomplish and ideas, and that's very exciting. But Martijn, you had mentioned acceptance, and I think it's also very interesting to talk about how the AEVI partnership also drives Mastercard acceptance across the globe. Do you guys have any comments on that specifically?
I'll kick this one off, Mike, if you don't mind, but happy on your views there, because I think that indeed plays from a couple of angles, and it plays directly into what we're doing as purely MPGS, in the sense of we're able to enable a lot more in the face-to-face environments through this partnership, leveraging what we have as a gateway, leveraging the different connectivities, some of the geographic expansion elements that Mike has mentioned earlier, bringing us both together really extends that reach, which from a very simplistic perspective, we'll be able to support an increase in number of acceptance points at the most basic level of that. However, that's indeed where the other elements like smart POS, but also like acceptance forms like tap on phone and all those developments where pin on glass is going are coming together, because this is also giving us a partner that we can closely work with specifically on those products, and where we can have our teams, not just our teams, work closely together, but we're actually bringing customers to each other to be able to work on those things, whether it's pilots for new products or whether it's actually scaling a new product with a customer, either through each other's channels because we have independent channels, or actually through our joint channel because of what we're able to offer as a joint platform.
No, I fully agree. I can't add much more to that, other than there is several opportunities. Also, if you look at regions where, when we spoke about, okay, cash is now going to disappear even quicker. Name a country, probably not the best one, like a Japan or somewhere where there's still so much to do in terms of getting devices, even though we don't like the term devices, but for argument here, devices out there that actually consolidate payments in the store, where they can do a lot more. So it's from the most basic thing of giving a merchant a device to do something with, to the most sophisticated one where we're upgrading merchants of all sizes to do smart POS, to do value add, and get different applications on that same payment device to do even more with and for the consumer.
Let's take a step back for a second, and we've been talking about Smart POS, but let's expand on that. Mike, can you share with us what Smart POS means for AEVI and how that's really central to your offering?
Yeah, so Smart POS is effectively the evolution of the payment terminal. Everybody knows the payment terminal in their local supermarket. They stick their card in, punch their PIN code in, and that's it. It doesn't do more than that. Into a device, actually a more business device rather than a dedicated payment terminal, that can run applications, most of the time based on an open Android, secured but open Android solution, and that can put those applications together in a genuine value-added proposition. So where, for example, a flower shop before had a big POS computer on the desk, where they had to type in all their products, there was a till receipt and a separate device for payments, we can now say, well, actually, no, we can upgrade that device. That device has become smarter, so we can give you a POS app. But you know what you can do today as well is you can get loyalty on there, and you can get a ratings app on there. You can start doing with a combination of apps what actually years ago only the big tier 1 retailers could be doing because it was that expensive. Now you've got hundreds and hundreds of value-added app developers who are there to load their apps on that smart POS, so that smart payment device running apps that make that whole experience much better. And I say it's an evolution because ultimately what we see is, from the classic POS or EFT terminal, what you want to call it, to a smart POS, which is now Android based, like Martijn said, we're moving to people's phones or tablets or software endpoints as well. But it's all smart in the sense that it's not this walled payment device thing anymore. It becomes a business solution for businesses to run their business or to provide additional service to their customers.
I love it. So not only is it smart, but it's also a little bit of BYOD in a certain way as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the trend at the moment. And if you're asking about 5 years from now, we will see that use of own devices pick up as well. You can debate whether an owner of a coffee shop will let his employees use their own phone to take those payments. So that there's use cases for everything, but it will start to merge. And merchants will start to expect from their payment service providers that they think along with them. They will ask questions. Why can't I do it like this? Because they see it out there. Hence that pressure and the need for a party like us combined to say, we can do that very simple with one single platform. Let your merchants choose.
That's awesome. So I'm very familiar with BYOB, but I'm really liking this BYOD as well. It sounds like a very exciting prospect. So Let's talk about next steps. What about your goals for the next year, the next 5 years? How do you see this partnership emerging? And then how do our customers, how do our listeners get to learn more?
So, how do we see this evolving? Like I said, we want to establish a platform, a joint platform, as we said, that is a standard globally. And I say that very quick, but that means that we use a whole new platform, a cloud-based platform based on those standards that really allows, because we need to be looking at our end customers, which are the merchants who then provide it to their customers. We need to create a solution where they can run their business and deal with payments and the value add in any way they want. So we need to be global, but very regional as well. We need to be able to connect all of those things together. We need to make sure whether they start with online or they start in the store, that it's seamless for them, so they can focus on the business and we do the hard work in the background. And there's a lot of work to do, but as we said, the work is right in front of us now because of the acceleration of the last year and a half. And I think we succeed when we actually see that these standards start to take grip, and more people start to actively ask for that, which is starting to happen already.
Exciting. What about you, Martijn? Anything to add?
I think basically the principles we're going after, and indeed also showing back to some of the earlier questions, this isn't an opportunistic partnership. This is a well thought through partnership of what we're actually bringing together here. And I think setting the ambition to actually drive that change and set a standard. I think it's a big ambition, as you said, Mike, and there's big steps to take. However, I don't think it's an unrealistic ambition for both our organization and bringing our strengths together. I think there's to maybe add one or two things around the specific opportunities, and also linking it to some of the things we've already discussed around the trends and developments and the Smart POS reflection Mike gave on the strength of AEVI Smart POS offering. There's a lot of different developments in different parts of the globe, of the market. Mike's used examples of Japan, of Europe, of different segments. We've got examples around Gateway of where we've been able to support cash displacement in other high cash markets, for example, in the Middle East, and have had a big impact there with where we've been able to support tap on phone to replace cash on delivery flows. Those are all indeed individual examples. Deep down in our project plans, we'll have a couple of milestones where we want a couple of those things delivered, and those things will create momentum for us. But it is indeed actually where can we holistically bring that together for that merchant, and that will be, and that's the exciting thing for me in this part, is that can be any merchant. That can be an SME who has never thought about the online or offline or what it even means for him or her to being that SME, in whether it's a marketplace type environment or whether it's an individual owner, shop owner environment. That actually comes into scope with this kind of solution. That comes into scope with the Smart POS, the thinner payment devices, not needing separate devices. But at the same time, we're talking all the way into large retailers as well, and having to adapt to the trends, having to be able to be reactive. Active customer management they need to do, but also active data management around payment they need to do, because they'll need to manage their flows optimally. They need to manage their routing and transactions optimally. Yeah, that's I think the uniqueness here, that we've got that breadth. At the same time, it's probably our risk, and that's where we're setting our ambitions very, very high. So the only one I'd add is I think there's some nice shorter run wins for us here as well that we'll play into with individual customers, individual merchants, being able to show some great use cases as we start rolling out the solution. But to your point, Mike, the key to judging our success will be not those individual cases. Judging our success will be when we're actually setting that standard, and when actually a few years from now, if you ask people now, unified commerce, omnichannel, what does that actually mean to you? As we all know, we'll get very different answers. We'll get different answers from different customers, different industry experts, and logically, because it means different things to different people and to different users, and there's different needs to drive that. But it may actually be very nice in a couple of years from now, you get a very consistent answer driven by some of the solutions we've been able to take to market together.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. If their answer is we know we can do it with their joint platform, then whatever they want to do is the perfect thing to go forward. So no, I fully agree with that. It's exciting times.
Yeah, it is definitely exciting times, and I definitely see why, our large merchant customers are very excited, and also our white label partners as well. This is a fantastic offering that they can also then turn around and offer their customers. So very last question, kind of a rapid fire. You're standing in front of this very captive audience. They're loving what they're hearing. What is the one sentence pitch? Why AEVI and Mastercard together? Mike, we're going to start with you.
Oh, that's not nasty. I would say, as we've seen over the last few years, the time to change is now, and AEVI and Mastercard are your perfect partner to fulfill, all those different challenges to create a proper omni-channel solution for you and your customers.
That's a perfect pitch. I love it. I'm sold. Martijn, can you top that?
It'd be hard to top that. So there's a downside of going first, Mike, and there's an upside of going first. The uniqueness of the time, I think, really comes in the timing of how we can have our solutions come together. Our gateway, slogan, for lack of a better word, one gateway, a world of connections. Yeah, it does come to mind here for me as well, because we are that. However, our partnership builds on that and expands that, and realistically expands on that exponentially, because we might be two gateways, a world of connections, but now we're actually two gateways, a world of connections in the face-to-face environment, in the online environment, but more importantly, in the evolution of how those two environments come together.
I love it. So it's offering choice, flexibility, and simplicity. It sounds like a definitely great team. So thank you guys for joining us today, and I look forward to talking to you guys next time.